creating curiosity by asking better questions. This is Shed Talk. Barry Klatt. The things you know that you don't know, but is it about real estate? Barry Klatt, thank you very much for coming on Shed Talk. And I know we've known each other for how many years?
God. Is it 20?
No, it's more than that. Probably 25 years.
25 years?
25 years. And the first thing we ever did, not first thing we ever did, but we did Tough Mudder together. We did Spartan races together. We were partners with Core Fit. Which
is still going today.
It is. And thanks to yourself and everything doing that and us growing that business together as entrepreneurs.
Yeah. We were almost a married couple in that one.
I think we were pretty much married.
Yeah.
But thanks for coming on to Shed Talk. I'm excited to have you on board.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here. The first time I actually sat in this spot, I think, was when in one of your hot tubs on a Christmas holiday. The big 20-man hot tub used to sit here.
And you know what? And that's interesting. As a 20-man hot tub, and here we are. Now we're in a shed.
Now we're in a shed.
Like how things change after COVID, and then and society changes and everything.
Well, and we got
like
white hair now.
That is true. We definitely we're not as young as we used to be like that. But here we are, 20 years later. We had been in business together, but your greatest expertise and your superpower is you've been in real estate for how many years?
This is my 26th year.
26 years in real estate.
Yeah.
How did you get started in that?
I actually got started probably based on desperation, having a new family and working in a union job. It became something that was like, well, what am I going to do? And back then, a lot of the things that you don't know about real estate, or the realtors now are way more educated than we were. It was like, I still have my Mount Royal certificate. I paid $800 and had to do 90 hours of night classes. And I think you needed just your high school diploma. Now it's 6 months and more, and $14,000 or $10,000, somewhere in there, to have courses. So we always say the newer realtors, way more educated. We learn a lot from them. We just have to teach them how to balance their mental and discipline and how the business runs on an emotional basis, the things they don't know. But yeah, they're way more smarter than me.
So when you were talking, you started way back when you went and brand new student, and then young people right now getting out of high school, getting ready to go, and then all of a sudden, and they're very personable, because you have to be personable to be in real estate, obviously, I'm assuming.
You know what? Real estate's one of those, you're going to align with whoever. There's enough money out there for everyone. There's different personalities. We're always not picking on engineers here. We have great friends that are engineers, but their personalities is a very A-type. There will be someone else that has an A-type personality that runs their business and likes the way they run their business. And then there's ones that have the personable side. I'm more on the personal side just because I enjoy people. I enjoy learning. The greatest thing about real estate, the people you get to meet. Like, everyone thinks that selling houses after a while, it's fun and things like that. But it's just the opportunities and situations you get into. When you sell someone's house, as soon as they have to tell you their reasons why they're moving, some of their finances, and disclose some of that too, so you can help them move on, they open up about everything. They literally almost become a good friend because they've fully entrusted into you. And that's, having that type of trust is something that you have to hold at a really high regard.
Now, as being and going back, and then you have, obviously, trust is really important.
Yeah.
But talk a little bit about into the mindset, because when you're in real estate, you're basically on a desert island, and you have to get up early in the morning. I'm assuming early in the morning. And as an entrepreneur, you have to get up and you have to be focused. How does that mindset and get trained to be that kind of individual, to be self-motivated?
Well, it is a mindset, and that's what there are people that come from different backgrounds that automatically have that. Obviously, in the gym and stuff like that, people that are successful in the gym, not owning a gym, just going to the gym, there's a discipline involved. If you're an athlete, sports, dedicated to education, school, there's people that just have the mindset of, I have to do this. And they fall really quick into the category. There's just not a lot of them. So a lot of people don't understand what that mindset is and how to get it. And we've talked about this before in business, right? That same discipline applies whether you're in real estate, whatever the widget is that's a Kevinism. That's a Kevinism. Yeah, and I'll bring up some more of the Kevinisms. Yeah, but it doesn't matter what it is. It's business. So real estate, one of the things, and if I jump all over the place, you can
It's
bring
all
me
good.
back. So one of the things is when you first get into real estate, you tend to be a lone wolf, and when you're a lone wolf, it's very scary.
So what's a lone wolf? Well, how would you interpret
Single
a-
realtor, right? So you become, it's my own business. I pay a brokerage
Right.
to have my license and things like that. You know, you actually go to brokerages and you think that you're interviewing for a job. Really, they want you. You
What?
should be interviewing them.
But what's a brokerage?
Brokerages are the ones that hold the license, that do make sure that all the paperwork's there, fin tracks, make sure everything is where it should be. They hold the trust accounts, make sure that the money's not being moved around where it shouldn't be. It falls under another category. Brokerage was very important. Brokerages made a lot of money in the 70s and 80s because 50% of the commissions went to the brokerage. So if you owned a brokerage and you basically was the company that subcontracted out to the realtors, you made some. That model's changed. And we can go into that, how that model looks now, especially after COVID and with the cloud-based businesses. In my years, that was when I got in, brokerages were making a lot of money. They didn't have to have a whole bunch of realtors and have volume, and it started to slowly change. But that's life, right? Back then, it was a flip phone, a pager. I used to have a pager and a flip phone to do deals. And
You actually had an actual flip phone. Like I'm thinking going back because I remember the pagers idea, and you'd have a pager and you look at it and go look for a phone booth.
yeah. Oh, yeah. So I had like what the doctors use now. You know, you go into a hospital and it has the text on it and stuff like that. And it's funny because great thing about real estate, I have clients that are doctors and they become good friends, but you still see these Motorola pagers, and I'm like, it just throws me right back because I looked like, well, I was going to say a drug dealer, but I had the pager here, flip phone here, driving a diesel truck,
And
things
you had
like
the big brick phone. Did you have that brick phone?
Not when I was in real estate. So I did have the Cantel.
Is it Cantel? Yeah.
Yeah, the big Cantel brick phone that you set in your jean jacket and weighed down like this.
Oh, and how many people, when you had the Cantel, you always had to have, and way back in the day with Radio Shack,
Yeah.
you had the Radio Shack, and you'd buy the actual antenna just so it looked cool, and you put the antenna on the back of your car, and you'd be around the people going, hey, he's got a cell phone.
Yeah.
And the brick phone. Oh
And
my
you
gosh.
just pull it out of your pocket and things like that. But when I got in, it was like, I think they were the Motorola flip phones. You flipped it open, dial the number. And that was big because then you literally didn't have to find a phone booth. But we used to drive, like the paperwork was done on full sheets of paper, press hard, 4 copies. And you went to meet realtors, and like if you had to present offers, you drove to meet the realtor or go to the client's house. There was a lot of things that were done. You put on a lot of miles. So the technology has done wonders for us because now we can just do it all from our phone. DocuSign became the authentic signing. That was COVID based and technologies that allowed the legal system to be like, okay, this does work a little bit better than having full signatures and things like that. It's actually odd. I had an offer yesterday, and the lady sent it in all handwritten, and it's bizarre. I can't do that anymore because my handwriting is terrible. She has nice handwriting, very easy and clear to see, but it just look and it just throws you off because it's like, why would you write this?
Well, how do you know it wasn't AI?
Because it was handwritten.
Yeah.
This one was hand.
So, okay, so get back into the the question I was thinking. Since you started from then to now, what do you think was the number one biggest change in the real estate market, as a transactional piece, that kind of revolutionized the way business is done? Like we have the Industrial Revolution, we have the things that you don't know. What was one thing?
It's kind of an answer that everyone gives. It's technology. At the end of the day, it's technology.
But what part of the technology?
It's the amount of photos that you can put on. So again, when I got in, it was one photo. So the Calgary Real Estate Board, you would pay, I think it was like $60 or something like that for every listing, and they would drive past the house, and a guy in a car with a camera, like, it would just roll down his window, take a shot of the front of the house, and then go. And then it was Altera, I think it was called. It was the first system that they came up with where it wasn't data lines. Like it used to be almost DOS based, right? And then it came up with you could have 4 pictures and you could put in 2 sentences, right? So that was a big movement because all of a sudden you got to see a little bit more. So instead of just using your house as an example, someone drives by and all they got is a picture and 1 sentence, then it says 5 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, and an attached garage. They had to go to an open house. They had to come to see it. Last year we did probably 30 deals of clients that are out of town from Toronto and that would go in. You had Anne Marie on here. Yeah, I'm glad you got her. She's the most brilliant economist. I've always loved to go and watch the forecast. So kudos to Anne Marie.
She's very good at what she does. She was on amazing, and she really focused on intermigration.
Oh, yeah, and
No
every
idea.
yeah. So this is where it goes all over the place. Realtors that don't go and listen to her, she's one of the most knowledgeable ones to show stats and she's not biased. She doesn't care if the market's going up or down. She's just like, here's the data, and that's such a useful tool to help educate buyers and sellers on what trending is in, like what the market's trending to. So, but anyways, yeah, Anne Marie's a godsend. One of the things that in real estate that going back to the big movement or the big technology change was when we moved into being able to have the 50 pictures, virtual tours, and things like that, and FaceTime. So that's where I was going with this. We did about 30 deals with these clients from out of town. I would say out of 30 of them, we probably bought 15 of them where the client wasn't even here. We went to see it. We take out the phone. We were FaceTiming. They had got enough information from the virtual tours, which you can zoom right into a corner or right into anything. And then us being the people on the street, physically walk in and being part in the construction industry, building houses, being in real estate this long, I walk through a house and pick out the things that they may not know, right? Things that would be a red flag, HVAC rooms, things like that. But I can kind of verify what they're looking at and give them a fair market assessment on that property. Out of those 15 deals, I bet you 5 or 6 of them, they never even saw the house. They haven't even seen the house to this day. They're just buying them as investment properties. If you went back, that being the biggest revolution that happened, is that you can buy a property from a distance without having all the information. You even though you don't physically see it, you visually can see everything about it. That made the world of difference in real estate. Opened up markets everywhere.
So when you're when you're talking about, okay, so technology has gone that basically we have Zoom, we can get communications faster, quicker, better than back in the olden days. In that the olden days.
Horse and buggy days.
Horse and buggy. But and obviously prices are different, so the price levels are different. But what's interesting to know, the things you know that you don't know, and I keep going that into shed talk.
That's a Kevinism.
The Kevinism is that the commission structure back then to the commission structure nowadays, 25 years later, has it changed?
No.
And why is that?
It's interesting following different markets because every province is a little bit different. We have a little bit different of a commission structure in general than even Edmonton, right? Commissions aren't set by law, right? But there is kind of like call it a normal rate. So some realtors are like, I charge X amount of dollars, right? Everything's negotiable, right? If we were like in BC, there's like in Vancouver, you might get 2% of the sale price. Well, everything's over $1 million. You might get a lot more than what's here. Here, the way in Alberta, the way they had structured it was you get a certain amount. Generally speaking, it's 3.5, 1.5. So being 3.5% on the first 100,000, 1.5% on the balance. So if your house is 500,000, you get $3,500 on the first 100,000, and then you get another $6,000 on the balance. So the other 400,000 you get 1.5% of. The reason,
Which is 10,000.
Which is 10,000. The reason they structured it that way back then was that houses were like 150,000. If you didn't want realtors to manipulate the pricing. Oh, Kevin, you got to pay. This house is 140. Like you got to pay 170 because if the structure isn't set up to be the lower denominator, the lower percentage on the back end, then if you could get the buyer up $30,000, you're manipulating the market, but you get paid a lot more, right? This way, you get your big money on the first 100,000, and the smaller amount on the other one. So if it goes up by 10,000, it was like whatever, $150.
So if someone's buying a house, and and the market right now is, as buyers are talking about getting in, it's very difficult to get in there, and then the costing getting in there, and then people look at real estate and look at realtors and go, "Oh my God, look at the money you're
Yeah.
making! You sold my house that quick." What would you recommend or tell people? Like, why is that number the number?
Oh, I get interviewed every day.
Yeah.
And I love it. Like the thing is, realtors are always applying for a job, right? You go in and someone says, "Hey, I need some help in the market. I want to sell my house." I go in to interview and say, "This is the reason." I've structured my business to be that there's no reason to really use anyone else unless they have the same structure as we do. And there's a lot of realtors have this same kind of team basis. But you're going in saying, like, here's what I have, here's what I offer, right? So everyone thinks that it goes on a Friday, sells on Saturday, you made all your money and you walk away.
Isn't that the case?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
easy. You write yourself checks.
But isn't
Yeah.
that like, wouldn't that be the case in Alberta right now, where they're saying, "Oh well, it's a buyer's market"? Does that happen that quick? And I'm just
Yeah,
using that back in
Yeah.
there,
It does, but there's still a lot of work.
right?
Like this is an odd market. So I saw this in 2005 when we doubled in price, and I think I think it was 2005. We can pull up stats to find out. But
We'll say 5.
we'll say 2005. Yeah. But in February there's 886 properties on the market. We were only like, I think we were 1,000,001 type of thing. Now we're sitting 1,000,007. As of this morning, houses and condos from just the smallest, cheapest property at 169,000, which there isn't many, little one-bedroom apartment type of thing, to 14 million in Aspen. There's 1,740 active listings for 1.7 million people. There's less than 1,000 homes. The other ones are condos. Those numbers where we should be sitting is probably around, and again, Anne Marie might have said something about this, but should be somewhere around anywhere between 5 and 7. If you're 6,000 units on the market product, you've got a pretty balanced market. So in these ones, going back to what people just think you go in and write checks, it's super easy. You have to now prep people ahead of time. If you're getting, I think in the last month, we've been in 7 different situations where they're competing offers. So we have to structure clauses. You have to be a lot more alert. You have to have the knowledge, because if you're out there trying to sell your house and you're trying to represent your seller properly, you have to make sure you have all that information ahead of time. It also means you have to prep the house before to maximize the dollars. So if you're like, "Barry, I want you to sell my house." "Okay, Kevin, I'll put it on the market tomorrow." My assistant we could be sitting there doing this interview. My assistant would get your house on the market. No problem. But your house isn't prepped.
So if I
Is
say
it
I
going to
want,
maximize the price? It won't,
let's
because
say I want it sold in 24 hours, just because I've seen that people say, "Oh, I can sell your house in 24 hours." Does that just mean they just say, "Okay, we're gonna sell it at your house is appraised at $1 million. We'll say it's 600,000, so it'll go fast." Is that kind of the approach to that?
Well, there's different strategies for sure, and that's the thing is you have to have a strategy. Real estate's no different than business, like any business, and unfortunately, sometimes people don't take real estate as a business. They think it's a lifestyle. I get all the glamour, but at the end of the day, it's a business, and we'll talk about discipline later on. But the idea is like if you want to put your house on the market, you have to prep your house. What can be done to maximize the price? What items need to be fixed or touched up? How do we do it? Then you want to prep everything so that you got a full package the minute it hits the market, so that you can attract all the buyers that are currently there. And it looks its best. It's prime real estate.
But if I have all these people that want to buy right away, okay, because it's a buyer's market, do I have to prep that hard?
It's a seller's market.
Or sorry,
Yeah.
seller's
Yeah.
market. Sorry, seller's market. So being a seller's market, so what do you suggest?
Well, the reason you do that is you want to get as many offers as possible. If you're selling your car,
Right.
If you're selling a widget, right? Like whatever it is, you want to make sure it's at its best, and to optimize the price on it is you literally get it packaged. And in real estate, you want to have 2 weeks worth, at least a week, if not 2 weeks worth of work ahead of time. Then you put it onto the market, You have to deal with all the different showings and the realtors. And there's little things like people are like, oh, realtors keep, all their information super tight and things like that. One of it is have a good relationship and a good name in real estate. It takes forever to build a reputation. It takes one bad deal to destroy it. What ends up happening is having that type of relationship. The other realtors be like, yeah, this is a good one. You want come see my house that I got listed. That guy brings or that girl brings the buyer to the house. Well, if I can get 5 or 6 people looking at the property and then we review, you potentially can make another 5 to 10%, depending on whatever strategy you did. So if your house is $1 million and you're like, I want to sell for 600, I'll write you a check right now.
Yeah, no doubt. So on a lead generation, because as being and getting, and we talk about mental stability and mindset and stuff like that, as being a realtor and being the lone wolf, back to our lone wolf story, is that here you are as a lone wolf, and then going in there, how does a young realtors or any realtor, like, how do you network to get people, like, is it door to, like, how do you network? Like, where do you get the sales from?
Yeah, well, I mentor a lot of realtors on my team. It's a way of giving back, but there's also a value to mentoring them and have them be the most productive they can, right? And a lot of it isn't a matter of when you go into a house, it's a 3-story or 2-story house, 3 bedrooms, 2.5 baths. Like, it's not the stuff that I think people see. That's what people need, but that's not what the realtor is. He's dealing with their emotional side and things like that. When the first realtor comes in, if they're a lone wolf, they don't know a lot of these things. And if you're not making sales, it's heroin, right? Like, it's a high and a low. And it doesn't matter which realtor it is. It seems like the minute you get a listing, you're like, yes, like I got this listing, and you're like, I potentially can make $10,000, right? So you have to spend all your money on the marketing. And remember, you get into this job, I pay you, I put my money to put your house on the market. So I'll spend $1,500 to $2,000 to put your house on the market. If it doesn't sell, that's my money that's gone. Well, and I've worked 3 months. This is in a different market, but I've worked 3 months on that, and I may not get that money back. So I'm paying you to sell your house with the potential reward that when your house closes in 3 months, and then the lawyers check everything off, and 2 weeks after that, I get paid. So I'll do work today, and in your business is very much the same, right? 30, 60, 90 days. But I might not get paid for 120 days. So in real estate, you get this real energy about, oh, I got this listing, got to get to work. And you hope it sells in one day, and you hope you get maximum price and everyone's happy, but you start working. And then as soon as that sale, you get the deal, it's firm, you're like under conditions, like when a house is under conditions, 25 years in this, it's still the most stressful time. There's so many things that can go wrong. Conditions fail, no financing, home inspection. You have to mitigate and negotiate all the way through all these little problems. And this goes to the lone wolf one. In your mind, you're stressed. You still got to be nice to your family. You still got to be nice to your friends. And you always have to have a smile on your face because who's the next client, right? So you're always outwardly, you're Facebook. Everything looks great. But inwardly, you're stressed. That condition goes through. You're like, yes, it's a firm sale. Now you got to wait to get paid. But the minute that condition goes through and it's firm, you're like, oh my God, I got to find another house to sell. You automatically go from this to this, right? Because now you go back into panic mode. So as a young lone realtor that sits in their house working, doesn't have this type of guidance to understand their feelings and emotions in it and how to kind of navigate through, like, this is normal, this is what happens, so there's the legal side and the contract side. There's all those things that you need other realtors to mentor. When I got in the industry, I was 25 years old, and 24, 25. And I had to grow a goatee because I looked too young.
Oh, and then you probably had a mullet too?
Oh, I had cut my mullet off just after my wedding. Yeah. it was a sick mullet.
And nothing wrong with a mullet, I'm saying. It's
coming back. But I wish that the mullets that the kids have now, I wish I would grow that. I mean, I had the Jaeger, like, big flow going. That and then really tight on the top, like, it was terrible. Anyways,
and Metallica all over the place. Yeah,
it was terrible. But I had mentors that I'd be like, oh my God, some of them are dead now. But they that's how old I am, how old they were. But I picked people that were in their 50s at the time, and 60s, because they're like, don't worry about it, don't stress. So you talked about the funniest deal. My first deal was in Strathmore in a mobile home on land.
Do I really want to know this story?
Yes, because it's so funny.
Yeah.
I didn't know what, and back then 2-page contracts. Now we got 20, so it's just 2 pages, few blanks. Like it's fairly simple. Totally panicked. I didn't know what to do, so I excused myself from the table. I went to the bathroom and I used my Fido phone, and I phoned my mentor, and I'm like, I don't I don't know what to put in here. Like I just blanked right out. I'm like, I don't remember how to fill this out. Dan's like, don't worry, Barry. It's all right. Just do this. That's the point of having it. If you're a lone realtor, you're trying to jump through those hoops.
Right.
You need people in place to do that. You also have to understand having that type of mentor is telling you, relax. It'll be all right. And we need that in business, every business, right? You and I, when we were in business, I'd be losing my mind. You're like, no, where does the money come from, Barry? That's, you can't think of it that way. Well, we need to do this, we need to do that. And that's why the old husband and wife type of thing. I had Earls, I swear, those poor servers, because we'd sit in there and just argue, right? We'd have our meetings and we'd be like, no, Kevin, needs to be, this needs to be done, that needs to be done. And you're like, Barry, it's not the way it works. It has to be. But that was the mindset of someone that owned a business and had to have employees, and someone at the time that didn't necessarily have the same amount of employees, and the business ran differently. I learned so much through that. So anyways, part of that is just calming people down. Lone wolves in this industry don't tend to do as well. And when it gets quiet and we haven't got a sale, and they say like you're eating lobster one night and the next night it's KD, that those ebbs and flows flow through. And when it's quiet and you're at home and you feel you need to be doing something, but you're not making money, the market's slowed down, and it will. This market will slow. It should have taken 6 months. We're into year 3. There's a lot of positive things, but it'll just slow, and you just won't have sales as much. You'll end up sitting there and you go, what am I doing? Right? That's where discipline and mindset comes in, right? You have to have the discipline. You have to have, my business partner was amazing when I learned a lot from her. She's like, when we go through these things of like just getting panicked and things like that, she's like, Barry, it's attitude and activity. The only 2 things you control is your attitude and your activity. You have to believe the rest will come. So you sit there and you go, what's my attitude? Is it a positive attitude? What's my activity? Am I doing the same things I should be doing every day in order to make money? Now, some realtors are like, they'll sit in front of a computer and put everything that needs to be done, and they're organized, and they make their 15 phone calls, and they're going to do that. For me, I play hockey. I generally say, like, I play on 2 or 3 hockey teams. I play on 2 or 3 softball teams. I'm curling with the Hurry Harders, which is is an industry one in the HVAC industry, mechanical industry. I have no business being in there, but they said, hey, do you want to come play? I'm like, yeah, there's 30 people that from there. So in curling, I probably make anywhere from 10 to 20,000. In hockey, I make about 80,000 a year because I can average them out. And in softball, I probably make 40 to 50,000. So going back to networking and things like that, find what you love. You can, the same mentor of mine, that the Dan guy that I phoned, he was, unfortunately, it's a good story, so it won't end, but he had a drinking and gambling problem. He used to write deals out of the TNC Hotel in Forest Lawn on napkins.
Yep.
He's like, I was just the drunk that sat there, and he made money, and he came to terms. He's like, I can't do this anymore. So he went to AA, and he's full on recovering alcoholic. He's like, Barry, you can make money in the bar. Now I got the same audience in AA. The same things happen. I just don't wake up with a hangover and I remember what I did, right? Like he goes, that's the difference. So find what you love. Like hang around with people, like-minded people, right? And the money will come. But some of that is the discipline. When you in the morning, you get up. I'm a big believer in working out. I'm a big believer in meditation is a word that I'm not 100% familiar with because people have different ideas of what meditation is. But just take a half hour. I like to do it in the morning. I actually like to do it between 3 and 4 in the morning. It's crazy. Yeah. I generally go to bed 10:30, 11, and for whatever reason, 3 and 4 in the morning, I just wake up. If I have to go to the washroom or get a glass of water or something like that, but it's quiet and I can sit there. I don't have to reply to anyone. I don't have to talk to anyone. I don't have to check my phone. I don't have to worry about anything. And it's in the middle of the night where I go back to sleep. It's just this really peaceful, quiet time. So to me, what I like about that is it just allows me to meditate, to sit there and go, how's my life? Right? You can just sit and look at the shadows, and you can just appreciate the presence of that moment with full clarity. And I found it by accident, but I love it. And that's my meditation time. Then I get up and will sit and I'll work out. I'll vary between either doing work and working out, but I know at 9 o'clock my phone's going to ring. So I have everything done before 9 o'clock. I generally have worked out. I've got all my emails set up. I've done all my work, paperwork. Again, if you want to know about joining teams, I have 2 assistants, I have a partner, I have a team. So all the $15 an hour jobs, I hand off. Someone else does those items. I'm out there to get business, to supply my employees with business, and to guide my clients to making proper market decisions. I have to be out there. I can't be stuck behind a desk. It's a waste of time. But anyways, that's, discipline. So I've already worked out. I've already done all those things. Now 10 o'clock comes. I go and have my appointments for the day, and I'll go play hockey in the afternoon. And I'll sit there and I'll talk to all the guys. I'm the expert in the room.
And then you knock it out of the park, and there you go. Attitude versus activities and everything that you're doing.
2 things you have control: attitude and activity. And that's that's not even just in business, that's in life, right? You have to have the proper attitude and you have to have the proper activities. And then everything else will kind of flow and fit in.
Ebb and flows. Well, you know what, Barry? That was outstanding. Thank you very much for being on Shed Talk. The things you know that you don't know. And if you don't know anything about real estate, well, thanks, Barry.
Awesome.
You know it all. Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin.
Now you know. Shed Talk.